All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are in day 4 of open office hours. My name is Brian McLogan, and I am here to answer your questions for what you're trying to do, or at least work on for your distance learning, which was kind of crazy because I did a poll on my channel asking kind of, everybody out there, like, what are you guys doing? What are your teachers doing? Are they learning how to create videos? Are they just sending you to, additional videos that are already out there, or are they just kind of like telling you, like, do this kind of stuff? And 62%, my title, 62% of students responded that they are just receiving work, which to me was just crazy in the fact that not so much I blame the teachers or the schools, because obviously, a lot of us, were not prepared in this, right, in like for something like this going on. But the surprising part was just so many students do not have, or so many schools and districts and teachers had nothing else, no other way to be able to provide instruction. And I think just in this day and age with the technology, that is what is the most alarming. It's not so much that they didn't have it prepared, but that we, with the access to technology, with the, access to the internet that so many people have, there was never an initiative to, create content so that the students could, learn online. And that was actually, the reason why I got started when making my YouTube channel was I wanted to create videos. So therefore my students could, review at home. It was never meant to, replace my instruction. And I don't think online learning is ever going to replace in-person instruction. I think that, being a part of that community, going into a class with your peers and having a teacher or a mentor, I think is always going to be a part of that learning process. But I think the fact that this is also showing us that we are severely lacking in our ability to be able to provide, education over different circumstances. And, to me, it was just amazing. 62% of students did not have a way. I mean, obviously there's access on the internet, right? So, I mean, most students, with a couple search results can go ahead and find something that they kind of need. But I still think as far as that continuity, of teaching a concept or a course, it's really helpful to kind of have your instructor go through it. Even when students are struggling in my class, I always want them, they have their, tutors, or they're going to, tutoring club. And I'm like, that's fine, but also I want to make sure that we're keeping that conversation, because if I'm understanding what you're struggling with in my class and we're having that conversation, then I can kind of tell you, what you need to know, what you don't really need to worry about. Whereas a tutor or somebody else is teaching, a different class, like for instance, pre-calculus, college pre-calculus and high school pre-calculus, or even though they're majority of the time going to be talking about the exact same concepts, they're not going to perfectly align exactly day by day, for section by section. Same thing with like calculus. It's one of those classes where, even if you're doing an AP course, that's obviously going to be a little bit closer aligned all across, the country, or at least in the United States. But yeah, when you start looking at, even calculus, like, oh, it's a pretty traditional calculus 1, but it can be taught in a variety of different ways, as well as different pacings, around the world. So that's why I always think it's very helpful to have that kind of continuity, with your teacher. And when I saw that 62%, that's not what I was expecting to have. But it definitely kind of caught me off guard. All right. So I see some of you guys. So I do have one question already been submitted, guys, but I will be more than happy to chat my way for the first, while, and then kind of get into some math questions. So if you guys do have some math questions, please feel free to go ahead and submit them into the chat. I can't answer every question, but I'll try to do my best. I'm trying to keep these streams roughly around 30 minutes. So therefore, I'll roughly spend around 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes trying to cover some of your questions, whatever you guys have, from there. I'm not going to be able to do everything, but I'll try. All right. So I see Shah Patel, Jason, Addie, Clean Water. America does not want to. Okay. I don't even know. Polynomials, algebra. Is our summer break ruined because of coronavirus? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I think anybody that knows anything doesn't know anything, because we can't know anything. It seems like the information that we're hearing is, so many things are changing. And again, like, it all kind of, comes down to, our our predictions are only as good as the models that we were able to input into, or the information we're able to put into the models, to best understand that. And so, I mean, obviously there's a lot of applications of mathematics through with what we're kind of going through. If you guys have, kind of seen some of those, either videos or charts, looking at the, the models of everything. But yeah, I think it's going to be something interesting just to definitely keep an eye on. Pause out. I'm really hoping that this kind of quarantine that a lot of us are kind of going through is going to, help and pay off and keep a lot of people away from being sick, and but also not, take too long, that we can, also be able to support, businesses and kind of retain a little bit of the of what we had, prior to going through all this, kind of mess. I do have, I do see some things are definitely going to change. For instance, like education. I don't think education is going to be the same. As I mentioned, I don't think it's going strictly online, but obviously this is a big wake up call when 62% of the students do not have access to in-person direct education for what they should be covering. That's going to need to change, and it is going to change, and that's for the better. So, I mean, there's definitely some positives from there. And I think there's going to be some negatives. I don't want to make any predictions because I don't really know, but as far as education, which I know, I definitely can see there's going to be a lot of more innovation of getting teachers, schools, and districts up to par, and universities up to par with providing online education. And because they've just been reluctant, they haven't had to do it. They've just done it because it's been convenient, and it's been kind of the new thing, but they've never had to rely on it. And now we're being shown that it is something we need to make sure that we do. All right. Mike Wyman in the house. Happy to have you. Greetings, Ryan McLogan. Thank you for helping me not fail. That's awesome for you. Starflight, I'm so happy. Good for you. Yeah, we'll kind of see as far as the long school. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting what we're going to be able to do in school. I think a lot of how long, we're going to get into the school year is really going to kind of depend on how much testing is going to be eliminated. Like at least in Florida where I'm at, they've eliminated the state testing. So, there's going to be some repercussions with that as far as like the data and kind of, having kids move on to grade levels and kind of stuff like that. We'll get over it. We don't really need all of that. I mean, it's good somewhat, but I'm not that concerned about losing some of that information, or at least the pressure of teaching it and having students take it. So I'm cool with that. But then also you look into like ACT, SAT, like AP exams, ACE or IB exams, like all that kind of stuff. Then you're starting getting into, colleges and scholarships and, university classes. Now you're dealing with people's degrees and all that kind of stuff. So those are going to be some kind of interesting discussions that are going to be happening, that, schools are going to have to extend, to make sure that students can satisfy whatever requirements that are required for them, regardless of what's going on right now. There's certain things that need to be done to, say that you have earned, this, or you can move on to the next one. For a lot of things, it's okay. We can just wipe it and say, yep, it is what it is. Let's move on from it. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some repercussions that we're going to have to, or at least some bigger issues that we're going to have to work through. All right. My computer. Whoa, wait. All right. Let's see here. Mark asks, so if AP exams get canceled, why automatically pass the exam? I'm not sure that's the way that things are going to work out. But you never know. So, but yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't think they're going to want to cancel, those AP exams. I think it really kind of depends on how much of school is going to be in distance learning and, what they might make up. But I think they're still going to offer a lot of those exams, but they might just have definitely some extensions, and those, especially opportunities for people that have been in, quarantine or, lost so many instructional days. So we'll kind of see. We'll see how that goes. Dan says, I wish teachers would reach out to students who are doing poorly and give them some videos to try out. rather than say nothing. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it is kind of difficult. Our district has us doing something new in which I've never done before, and I'm trying to figure it out. I spent like basically half of today, really trying to like figure it out so I can get that communication going. So, I'd probably say give it a little time. I think we're going to be at this for a little while. And so, I'm hoping, giving the benefit of the doubt that, a lot of teachers are trying to figure this out on your own. I mean, at least fortunately for me, I have a lot of my content already created for my students. I already know what videos I'm making. I'm making a video tomorrow. So I already kind of have like my, plan set, but I really just need to kind of work on, making sure that, staying with the communication and dealing with my students' grades and helping them out that way, because that's what I'm getting all my emails from. But, think about maybe somebody else that hasn't created any videos, or doesn't have any of their, homework or anything else online. They're not only trying to figure that out, but then maybe also trying to figure out, how they're going to, get that communication, get out stuff. So, I definitely, give it a little time. I think we're definitely in the early phases, unfortunately, of this. This is something that we're going to be working through for a couple weeks for sure. Adam says, I need your help on polar equations to rectangular form. Secant of theta equals 2. All right, I can do that one. That's a quick and easy one. I like that. I like quick and easy problems, something that's not going to keep me here too long. Secant of theta equals 2. Okay. And we actually just went over the polar rectangular. So we just finished that chapter. So hasn't been too bad. Is star canceled? Not sure. Timeout gang. Do you think there'll be online exams? I don't know. You know what? I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the exams portion of things. I think, my homework that I give in class is basically it's just a general credit grade. Basically you do it, you show me that you're put in effort. And therefore it's a credit grade. All right, there's your credit for that. As far as for the quizzes and the test, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously already software available where you can, take secured exams, or at least take some secured, like, so then students aren't like browsing the web and stuff like that. But, I don't know, that's going to be kind of one of those interesting things. It's like, if there's still content that we have to have students assessed on, right? I mean, obviously some things we can just like majority of people, at least at this point, have taught a lot of their content that needs to be taught. Maybe there's just a couple more concepts that, maybe you can get by without assessing them on. But, there's going to be some other classes where like these students need to be assessed on this, and, and also their grade might depend on it. So I'm not sure really to that question. What's the best way to really administer some exams or online assessments? And there are definitely online exams available, or at least software where you can like submit your questions. Some of them secure, some of them unsecure. I don't know. I haven't come to that point yet. So we'll kind of see how we decide for that, or what to do as it comes. For right now, I'm just planning on helping my students with their grades to end the quarter, and then getting them with the instruction. So, I have a couple weeks review kind of ahead of time, and then some pretty like laid back instruction at the end of my quarter. So I'm feeling at least pretty good, at least where we're at. But my only big concern right now is trying to wrap up some students' grades, because they're kind of messy, because some of them missed their tests, they missed quizzes. They have like makeups. And so I don't know what I got to do. So I gotta spend some time helping them with that. Let's see here. How do you find the vertical asymptote or a hole? Oh, sorry, it's polar equation. Yes, it is polar to rectangular. That is correct. Voices school sucks now. Yes. It's definitely kind of a weird feeling, going over into everything. Like, it's like we actually came back from a spring break. So we were kind of already on that, spring break, like relaxing time. And then instead of going back to school, we're just now in this, basically staying at home and not doing anything kind of idea. So it's kind of like weird. It's still kind of, one feels like for me, I'm like on a break, but then also too, it's like, I'm also supposed to be working. So I'm going to go to school tomorrow, just to kind of get out of my house and try to get some kind of normalcy as far as like going to the school and getting my laptop and other things. So Hopefully that will kind of help a little bit of reset. Brick says something with integrals. I'm not going to cover integrals, at least on the live stream, but I do have a playlist of a ton of integrals that I covered. So if you just want to go to my playlist on my channel, then I have definitely a lot of integral examples for that. All right, let's see, guys. 3 questions. CJ Carlos, can you solve the vertical asymptote? I will, and I'll talk about that. Sure. And we'll talk about holes as well, because somebody else asked about holes. So that'll be a good one. So, discontinuities. Okay. All right. So let me just answer a couple more questions, and then I'll get into these 3 math problems to kind of cover. Difference of squares and cubes, small review. What happens to substitutes? Brandon going into 9th grade, or Brain or Brian. Do you still come in normal time since it's too early to decide someone's grades, I think. Whoa, G of X. What's wrong with my G of X? Yeah, all right. So, well, good for you. Nature is awesome. Going in 9th grade. That's awesome. That is very exciting. That is very, very exciting. Difference of squares and cubes. Okay, I can go over that. I don't really recall the difference of cubes. I always forget it, but I'll at least go over difference of squares, I guess. And cubes. We'll see if I can remember it. Okay, all right, guys. That is it. Do you have any videos on linear equations and slope intercept? Yes, I have a ton of slope intercept and linear equations. They'll be under my Algebra 1 section of my playlist. So if you just go to my channel, go to playlist, look under Algebra 1. I have a ton of those types of videos. When I taught Algebra 1, that was when I first started recording my videos. I would just record every single time I went to the board. So I have a ton of those. As far as report cards, I have no idea. I don't deal with report cards. So, our grading period did get extended. So I figured that once they have us ending grades, then it's just going to kind of go through the normal process on that. So, but that is, kind of, we extended our grading period because we were supposed to finish not this week, but the end of next week was the end of our grading period. So it's going to be extended a little bit longer. But I think just report cards will go from there. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get into this. I do have, for some of you guys on your questions, I'm not going to be able to get to any more questions because I'm going to try to end the stream here roughly on 9:30. But I do know a lot of you guys are having questions. And I know that the community chat, it's like one of those things I'm getting people reach out to me all the time, like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And 1, I can't always answer the questions. 2, some people have really, really hard time presenting their question, which of course I would too. Like if you're trying to write in your question, especially some like advanced questions, like, I don't know, with a lot of mathematical symbols going on, it's sometimes difficult, especially even, advanced symbols. It's going to be difficult to type them into something on a chat or even on my community post. So I will have some options for you guys. I've tried some different things, but I think I finally arrived on using a Discord server just for students to be able to submit questions. And then also, I'm definitely not going to be able to get to everything, but we can at least have a designated server to be able to post on there. And then if I'm not able to get to it, then students can go ahead and fill that in. So if you guys think that will be awesome, then please send me a nice little thumbs up or like the stream. And that will at least let me know that, hey, all right, I think people are interested in that. And I think it's just, I'm on Discord for a couple other reasons. And I'm at first, when I first was trying it, I was like, this is really weird. I don't like this. I'm not used to this. But now I can really kind of see the benefits of using it, and especially just kind of doing some general, questions for students. And then, getting some general questions for my Q&As, and then also maybe doing some for the office hours or based on what class you're in. Because then also, like, if you're in certain classes with other people, that's just another way. Like, one of the main things I tell students to do is get around people, do your homework with people, do your, tests and stuff with people that are taking the same course as you. So therefore you guys can help each other out. And, I'm hoping and assuming that's probably something already available to all of you. But I don't know, 62% of you don't even have, current instruction being applied right now. So maybe that's something that I can help you guys with. And then, I know there's a lot of different communities online, but maybe this might be something that will be beneficial for those of you that are doing that. So I will go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll keep you guys posted on that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to some math. And let's go and cover, first one is solving a trigonometric equation. So in this case, we're basically looking at solving sine squared of theta equals 1. And the couple different ways to do this, and at least to explain it, but I'm going to try to keep this rather brief. The first thing I'd say is if you have trouble solving for sine of theta, just think of it as, or sine squared of theta, or any trigonometric equation. A lot of times I tell students just to replace the sine of theta for x. But please remember, sine squared of theta is sine of theta quantity squared, right? So it's equal to 1. So make sure you understand with just the notation how that's written. It really means sine of theta squared. So the first thing we want to do is undo the squaring, right? Just like we want to undo the square root here. So when you undo the square root, you're just going to be left with the sine of theta. And that's going to be plus or minus 1. Now here we're done, right? X equals plus or minus 1. There's nothing really to do here. But here we have a little bit more information. It says the sine of theta equals plus or minus 1. Well, we're trying to solve. What are we trying to solve for? We're trying to solve for the variable. Well, the variable's theta. So what does theta represent? Theta represents an angle, right? And again, please note, it's not sine times theta equals plus or minus 1, right? It's not like 2x equals plus or minus 1. No, it's the sine of theta equals plus or minus 1. So what that means is we need to think about, we don't want to use though, but in the same respect, we don't want to use the inverse sign because that has a domain restriction. And if you look at we're trying to find the solutions here. And again, when I explained this in class, I explained this using the graph. So I would maybe recommend also looking at Desmos to be able to help you understand this, or graphing it using Desmos. And also use the unit circle, which I'm going to use in this case. But we don't want to use the sine inverse to solve for here because that's going to have a restriction on it. And we're trying to find all the values between 0 and 2 pi. So to explain that, I'm going to look at the unit circle. And on the unit circle, sine, which represents the y coordinates here, is going to equal to 1 up here, positive 1, and down here for negative 1. So now we're really looking for, well, what are the angles between 0 and 2 pi? Now remember, 0 and 2 pi is all the way around there, right? So we're looking at this angle and this angle. Oops. Come on. There you go. This angle and this angle. Oh, come on. Crazy. Okay. Now we don't want to go negative because you can see the constraint is only positive angles. So therefore I can say theta is going to equal the angle pi halves and 3 pi halves. All right. For next example, we're trying to convert this polar equation into rectangular form. So there's a couple things that we need to recognize. When we're trying to convert from polar equation, rectangular equations, we need to understand what we're trying to eliminate. So a rectangular equation is basically like an equation in terms of x's and y's. Whereas a polar equation, like here's a polar point, x, y. A polar point is in terms of like r and theta, right? So if we have an equation that's in terms of theta, we want to write that equation in terms of x's and y's. So we got to think of like our conversions, like how is everything, how does everything convert over? Well, x equals r times sine of theta. Y, oops, no, that's cosine of theta. Let's take that back and pretend I never wrote it down. See, you probably tried to screenshot if you didn't have to screenshot, see, I caught my mistake early. You didn't think about it, but next time you'll see, but it's okay because you'll be like, Mr. McLogan, he makes mistakes all the time. At least my students already know that. Like, hey, you did that wrong. I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely incorrect or doesn't make any sense. So let's make sure we correct that now. And sometimes, when you're talking and doing, that's of course going to happen. You're thinking one thing and then you write down something else. It's kind of weird how it happens that way. So we have x equals r cosine of theta, y equals r sine of theta. I'm not going to, again, go into the explanation of all these, but I just want you to kind of see tangent of theta is y over x, and x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So these are all the ways that we can convert between our polar and our rectangular equations. So what I recognize here is if I want to, what am I trying to do? Oh, if I want to go ahead and get this into this form, if I multiply by cosine on both sides, here, let's just write it down here. So I'll have secant of theta equals 2. So I'll multiply by the cosine of theta times the cosine of theta. Cosine of theta times secant of theta equals 1 times, then I have 2. Then I have 2 times the cosine of theta. Now my thing is being thing. And what was I trying to do? X equals r times cosine of theta. No, that's not it. That's not going to take me anywhere. What am I doing? I'm trying to like divide by the x equals r times cosine of theta. So r times cosine of theta equals x. I'm having a mental block. This is not that hard of a question. What am I doing wrong? I'm going to come back to this problem because I literally just taught this problem. Why am I having a trouble figuring this out? It was secant of r equals secant of theta. I literally just taught these problems and I'm having a mental block. This is why I hate live streams. Well, I don't hate live streams. I love live streams, but it's always not fun to be like, what are you thinking? Here's 2 cosine of theta. So that is going to be my, so x equals r cosine of theta. So I don't know, 2 sine of theta, r, x equals r times cosine of theta. Y equals r sine of theta. That's right. I don't know. I'll wait till somebody goes in and be like, dude, idiot, it's right there. Do this. And then I'll be like, oh yeah. So please go ahead and comment in the chat. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart, but I'm just going to move on to the next one. And then I'll come back and maybe my brain will clear, or I'll look at somebody's answer and be like, oh, that's exactly what you're doing. What grade do you teach now? I'm teaching pre-calculus, Andy. Andy, right? Yeah, Andy. Okay, so let's go and talk about discontinuities before I kind of get back into going over that last problem. So in this one, I have g of x equals x plus 3 divided by x times x plus 4. And recall, guys, what we're looking for is the discontinuities. That's basically mean the values that the function cannot equal. So, you know, when we're looking for those discontinuities, they're either going to be a whole or they're going to be an asymptote. So the difference is if it's a whole, that means it can be divided out. If it's an asymptote, that means it cannot be divided out. So if we look at this equation, now I could simplify my denominator. You know, I could multiply that denominator if I wanted to, but that's not going to do anything. Basically what I'm looking for in this case, oh, that's what I needed. No, that's going to be, or I don't know what the hell. So annoying. Oh, x plus 3 divided by, oh, is that an x? I don't know what your double x means. Plug 0 in for x. So either way, going into this problem, what we need to do is our discontinuities are going to be the values that our denominator cannot be. So we're going to want to set our denominator equal to 0. So we're going to do set times x plus 4 equal to 0. That's going to set up our inequality, or I'm sorry, our discontinuities. Now you can say I have a product equal to 0. Seriously? Okay. I've never had that happen before, so I guess we'll wait on that. You kidding me? What's going on here? Why am I getting a software update? Okay. All right. Kind of weird. I guess I had a software update working in the background. So let's go ahead and finish this up the stream because obviously my computer is not enjoying this. So anyways, I have the 0 product property. So I can set x equals 0 and x plus 4 equal to 0. So then x equals -4. Now you can see when x equals 0, my denominator is going to equal 0. When x equals -4, my denominator is going to equal 0. right? So these two values are my discontinuities. They are not a part of the domain of this function. However, what are they? Like if you were to graph this, are they going to be a hole or are they going to be a vertical asymptote? Well, since neither of them can be divided out, they are both going to be vertical asymptotes. So we can say there is a vertical asymptote there's a vertical asymptote at, now I think my computer is going down. At x equals 0 and x equals -4. Now, when you say, well, what about if it was a hole? What would that be? Well, if it was a hole, it would probably look something like this. See, the hole, you can see this x plus 3 over the x plus 3, those would divide out. So that would leave you with a rational function of 1 over x. So if your numerator and denominator can be simplified, whereas an expression with, your variable, your input variable can be divided out, it's still a discontinuity. It's still not a part of your domain, but it's not going to be inside of your, but it's not going to be an asymptote. It's now going to be a hole. So therefore we just say, instead of there being an asymptote at x equals -3, we'd say there is a hole at x equals -3. All right. All right. I think hopefully I'll slow down. I'm not sure what's going on with that. No, I need to end in my chat, but I did want to get into these for secant of theta equals 2. Yeah, what did I do? Would you mind if I said a prayer for you past them? I could just take a look at this too fast. Michael Wyman, we'll get you all covered up from that. Don't worry about that. I'm just trying to go over that the polar equation. I'm just trying to think about that as my computer. I'm just letting it slow down. It definitely had to reset a little bit. So that is going to be so that's going to be my r cosine of theta. What is it? X equals r times sine of theta. X equals r times. So what did I do? What did I remember on this? I can't believe I have that. Looking at that, I'll have to look at my things. So let's talk about difference of two squares. I need you guys to come through me. I'm having my brain block. I'm not sure if it's something I wrote down or how I written it in. I just cannot think past this. So again, you guys can see it takes me back to the days when, thank you for us. We're secant of theta equals 1 divided by cosine of theta. Oh, wait, yeah. Let me say cosine of theta equals 1 over secant of theta. No, but we're not trying to solve it. Maybe. Oh, wait, you know what? Never mind. What am I doing? No wonder this didn't make sense. This isn't a polar equation. That is just no wonder. Okay, now I got it. So I assume the student is asking me to solve so let me kind of go over, okay. There you go. That makes sense. I was kind of wondering, I was getting stuck on this problem and I was like, what am I doing? I literally just taught this problem. So I'm like, why is this giving me an issue here? Well, so the reason why this problem is giving me an issue is this is just an expression, that's just an equation like secant of theta equals 2. Yeah, he was solving it. If you needed to go ahead and solve this, then you could rewrite this as 1 over cosine of theta equals, 2. And therefore you could say, you can multiply by cosine of theta on both sides. So I think I wrote down the problem exactly wrong. If you multiply the cosine of theta on both sides, you would have, thank you so much for looking at that. You have 2 cosine of theta, and then you divide by 2 on both sides. And you'd say cosine of theta equals 1/2. And then you could obviously evaluate from there, depending on your restrictions. You look at that could be at pi is equal 1/2. So that'd be pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3 from there. If you're solving it, or if you're using the restrictions, then it'd just be pi over 3 or 60 degrees. But the student's question, and this is where I was just like, what is going on here? Why is this not, this isn't an equation. And I should have recognized it. If you have this equation in terms of like, if you're going to have a polar equation, it's going to be terms of r and, theta. So we're going to have that polar equation. So let me try to see if I have their equation or if I can pull up what exactly they're looking for. Because maybe I wrote it down wrong, or maybe they had that set up. Let me just go ahead and take a look at that real quick, because I can see. Let me go and do one. Polar equation rectangular. I was like, I've done like this problem like multiple times. So let me just try to see what exactly they have here. It has to be like r equals. There we go. Okay. So the problem would probably be written like this. It'd be r secant of theta equals 2. Okay. So that's probably typically what the student meant to write in there. Is like, how do I convert this to rectangular problem? Or I just didn't see it correctly, and that's what I needed to write in there. So, but the problem needed to look something like this. Okay, because again, if it's a polar equation, let's just go back and do the problem they had. Secant of theta equals 2. All right, so let's go and convert this though. Now again, r times sine of theta, no, not that. It'd be, come on. Not that. Sorry. It would look like this. Not that. It would look like r equals 2. Come on. Secant of theta. There we go. I'm doing this on the fly. Okay. Yes, it would look like that. There we go. So if a student needed to convert this, right, we know that r times cosine of theta is equal to x. So to do that though, we got to get this r times cosine of theta. So if we multiply by cosine of theta on both sides, therefore now you can see that is where we obtain the r times cosine of theta. And now that's going to be left with secant of theta times cosine. R cosine of theta is equal to x. So therefore x equals 2. And again, you can always check your answer by plugging this into like a graphing calculator, make sure you're in polar form. And then you'll see that is just going to produce a vertical line where x is equal to 2. So there you go. I had the problem wrong. I wasn't going crazy. I do remember how to do it. But otherwise, guys, I thank you so much for joining in on the stream. For all of you, I can just say good night to some of you guys. Yes, thank you very much, though, guys, for helping me out with that. Says secant of theta equals 2. Yeah, Adam, but that's not a polar equation. That's just going to be like, I'm not sure. That's not a. What was the question trying to ask you from there? Because that's not at least a polar equation be able to converting. No. Okay. I see what you're saying. Secant of theta equals 2. I would need some time. I see what you're saying now. So yes, you can go ahead and convert that over. That's going to be secant of theta is equal to 2. I'd have to look back over on that one. Is what you do. You're going to want to use secant of theta. Okay, so then you could write that as cosine of theta equals 1/2. Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. So cosine theta is equal to 1/2, and then you'd have to convert that. Oh. All right, guys. Well, jeez. Either way, I'm sorry, Adam. I'll have to y squared minus 3y squared. Yeah, I'll go and look at that. Sorry, I just didn't have time to kind of investigate. There's definitely a way you can be able to do that. but my computer, unfortunately, guys, is not being happy right now for a live stream. So I do apologize. Adam, I'll go ahead and work that through. It's just not coming right to my tip of my head right now to do, but I will definitely go ahead and let you know on that. Just make sure, if you would please go ahead and write in a comment on the community chat, because I do not have the Discord set up right now. But if you can just go and put a chat into there, I'll be happy to respond to you on that as far as converting that problem. I just, unfortunately, my computer is not liking what I'm doing right now. And I don't want to go along a little bit longer on the stream. So I'm going to shut this down, but I'll be more than happy to join you on that. Reminder, guys, I will be again going to live tomorrow night, because what else do we not have to do on a Friday night but join a live stream, because there's nowhere else that we're going to be able to go. So I will be going to live again. I will answer your questions, and I might have the Discord server available for you guys at that time to post your questions. Otherwise, I do plan on still doing the community chat. Still have the community chats available for those of you guys that are joining the live stream for the first time. Just on my channel, I have a post from the beginning of the week that you guys can go ahead and add your questions to, and that is where I got the questions for today's live stream. Otherwise, guys, hope you have a safe and great night, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, cheers.